Well, the thing we have to talk about, and if you watched this week's episode, which you should have done, we were talking a little bit about it. Glastonbury. Right.
Yeah.
Do you normally watch Glastonbury when it's on the TV?
If it's on, and sometimes a bit like, I take it back to, was it Friday night when it started? You text me. That was when I then went and kind of went on. I think it was on the red button. You could watch back over the day or whatever.
And I watched that. And the text that I sent on that particular day was, I'd heard that potentially it was going to be Foo Fighters.
Wasn't it like the biggest? Wasn't it the biggest unkept secret or something like that, or the worst unkept secret?
The churn ups as they went on, which I don't know what the reference is. Our friends from the UK Foo Fighters will probably know that, but no idea what the reference is. But yeah, so I checked that out, and it was. I know you didn't particularly enjoy that.
Oh no, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, but you can just feel that his voice felt a little bit.
It felt a bit forced. Like the whole thing felt a bit forced. They were rushing through. It's like, oh, we got to play as many songs as we can, and it wasn't like, from having seen them before, it didn't have that magic as much as a normal show would have. But I was thinking, because they did the thing where he introduced the band and whatever. And I was thinking, aren't they going to mention Taylor? Like, it's a big thing. Aren't they going to mention Taylor? And then they did and played Everlong, which is my favourite song of Foo Fighters. And I was like, oh. And shed a few tears at that. It was a bit of a moment.
Well, that instantly made me want to watch it. And I watched their whole set, which was, brilliant.
They were great, yeah.
I think it didn't get me, though, that bit. I think My Hero... is what I know he's usually sang when he's done a bit of a nod to Taylor.
Yeah.
That one for me still gets me now, more so than Everlong. But it's interesting because we were talking a bit before we recorded the live show this week. And for those of you that don't know, I've now got a new barber, unfortunately, but due to circumstances. But anyway, Clint, who is top guy, shout out to Clint if he's ever watching. But we were talking about it, and he said, I think his voice now he's always had a bit of a raspy voice anyway, hasn't he, Dave? But it really felt like he was struggling a bit. I don't know whether the whole kind of last 12 months, 18 months has kind of really caught up with him a bit.
It looks like it has. Like physically, he's aged.
He looked really tired, didn't he?
Putting a bit of weight and whatever.
Yeah. But the benefit that the Foos always have is the crowd. Because he can stop singing and they'll sing. And I think we go back to when we were talking about Arctic Monkeys, who we recently saw. He had the crowd on him. And I've seen so many reviews about the Arctic Monkeys set that they done it and like slating it.
Not particularly complimentary,
Yeah. That's it. Which is mad because, again, I go back to that gig at Carrow Road and the same sort of thing that I was reading about them being a bit slower, which is just their style now, but also the lack of interaction. And that's where I think the Foos get it right.
That's the difficulty, I think, with if you're doing your own gig, that's your house and you can do it how you want. Whereas if you're at somewhere like Glastonbury, I think everyone expects you to put on a show. And it's a very different crowd. It's not your fans. It's not, necessarily, there are a lot of your fans there, but there are people that want to be entertained, and their current show isn't that. Like, well, that's unfair, but it's not coming out guns blazing. Here are the hits. Like it's them doing their thing, isn't it? So
and I think there was an article I read about that, and them saying that their shows that they do in Sheffield, which is their hometown, is completely different to doing a Glastonbury or a Carrow Road or any sort of local like other venues compared to their home gig. But yeah, going back to the Foos, I really enjoyed it. I thought the new drummer, I thought he was great. I thought he was good. I thought he was good. Drummer. I'm surprised they didn't let him have a little when they were doing the intros to everyone. He didn't really do like a drum solo. Did he? They tried to avoid that.
Yeah. So no, the star, which is one of the stars of Glastonbury, which I don't know whether you managed to catch, was Rick Astley.
I read about him. I read about it. Yeah.
So Saturday, I pretty much watched Glastonbury from 12 in the afternoon through till the end of that day. I just happened to put it on at 12, and Rick Astley was performing, and I'd never. I mean, he's someone that I've obviously been aware of since he first had Never Gonna Give You Up and whatever.
True.
But I thought, oh, I'll watch it. Let's see what it's like. And I was absolutely captivated. Even my youngest was there. Like we were just watching it. And did you see that performance?
I didn't see it. I read an article on BBC about it though. And it was his first ever Glastonbury experience performing as well.
Which I get. I was talking. But, well, no, I don't think he is. I was talking at work about this to a colleague who's quite a lot younger, who wouldn't have known Rick Astley when he was famous necessarily. And when Rick Astley came out, he was part of the old Stockcake and Waltman. So it was like Kylie and Jason and like these throwaway pop artists.
Yeah.
And no one really thought. Yeah, exactly. And they turn up, sing what they have to, and then that's it. And that he was very successful, but in the same way as the rum will end us all. He was very disposable, as a lot of them were at that sort of time, and then just disappeared. But it was only really like with Rickrolling on the internet that brought him back, like to public consciousness. That song, but he was just so. He's just such a cool guy. And the bit where, I don't know if you read in the review, he said, yeah, I've always wanted to play at Glastonbury. Didn't think it'd ever happen. When I was growing up, I was a drummer. And I used to drum in my back garden, and my dad setting the drums up in the greenhouse, and I'd be out there, and I'd be drumming to this song. And I want to do this for you now. Gets on drums, starts playing Highway to Hell from AC/DC, singing, playing the drums, like absolutely nailing it. You're like, wow, who's this guy?
He's very talented. Yeah.
But the other bit he did, and I don't know if you read about this, is what he did with Blossoms at Glastonbury.
Yeah.
Is he did a set of Smiths covers with him singing and them as the band, which again was just flawless. Watching that, like, wow.
I love the collaborations at Glastonbury, because Dave Grohl came on, and I think he done another set for someone, and also came on during
Guns N' Roses very end.
Yeah. So I think all it done for me, the whole kind of long weekend of that, was made me think I need to go to one of these at some point. I've never been to Glastonbury. I don't know if have you ever been?
I've never been to Glastonbury, no. Maybe, yeah. I don't think I'd stay there. I went to the Reading Festival in the past, and I've been to sort of similar big events, but I always say I'm too domesticated. I wouldn't want to sleep there as such.
Well,
so I wouldn't mind going for a day.
Did you see the picture? I'll have to find it. I've got it for the viewers, and this is only on YouTube, so it's fine. I sent this to a friend. This was a picture of someone's tent. All right. Are you ready for this? I don't know if you'll see it properly.
No way. How'd they get that in the bed?
Well, the mad thing about this, right? They done 6 trips back to the car park and then back to the tent, lugging that IKEA bed
to set it up. Tent as well.
Yeah. But you say this, but one of my colleagues, we was talking about it, because we're all talking about, Glastonbury and what we saw and whatever, and we all saying we'd love to go. And we said, oh, what if we all went together? One of my colleagues has got a tent that's got 4 bedrooms.
Wow.
I mean,
that's cool.
That's pretty big.
I love going to look in those and go outdoors. And having a look around those sort of things.
Let's talk about some of the lowlights of Glastonbury. And again, this.
Can I say I've got 2 highlights that I've not mentioned. Guns N' Roses. I thought
highlight. I was about to say that as a lowlight.
Absolutely killed it. And for me, I was excited, but I think what it was, I adored Guns N' Roses like when they were out, but I had such a low expectation of what they were going to be like coming out. But not necessarily in a band, but Axl. Like Axl Rose had a very bad reputation, and he got really fat, and he was like, so I didn't think much would be happening. But the fact they came out and their first song was "It's So Easy," it was just that we're coming out swinging, and I thought that's easy. I personally loved every minute of it, and it reminded me how well I knew all the songs. I think there's only a couple of duds in there for me.
See, that's on my low lights more so because Axl. Yeah, I think he's got such a unique voice that, and because of his career and history and all that, I just don't think he quite hits them notes the same. He tries to.
No,
that's the thing. He tries to.
He's in his 60s now,
He's
isn't he?
an older guy. So, and we talk about Arctic Monkeys changing. Guns N' Roses haven't. They've been the same, which is a credit to them. I guess the big thing is Slash has still got it. Like, I don't think he's ever lost it, to be fair. But
that man, just watched him, and he's just effortless. He just stands there, doesn't he? And he's just
yeah, brilliant. But again, I just think I grew up listening to Guns N' Roses albums. Illusion 1, what was that?
Use Your Illusion 1 and 2.
Yeah, my old man had them, and I listened. I was saying this the other day. I grew up listening to them, and that's my memories. And then going on to kind of albums after that, but that would be one of sadly. And I saw the coverage from BBC, but I also saw a fan video on YouTube of them doing one of their songs, and just the sound of it from in the crowd just didn't sound. I don't know. It just didn't.
Yeah.
It was almost like a bad
the sound of
Axl
was awful. And I read there's an article about it, and then below comments. But some of the people in the comments said I was there and the sound was better there. So I just don't know whether it was just BBC budging it up a bit. But I mean, you could hear him, and then he pulled his mic away, and you could barely hear anything. But the other highlight for me was Lewis Capaldi.
And thinking that,
not necessarily for his music. I mean, he's an incredibly talented guy, but just it was very unique. The compassion that the crowd showed him, and like my wife was saying, that after that gig, he really beat himself up about it, because his tick sort of started in it, and you could see he was really struggling with it. And he's taken time off recently for like the mental health issues and the strain and whatever. But he did such an amazing gig, and he was flawless pretty much. But the compassion and the understanding that the crowd had for him, I thought was just amazing. Like they were there supporting him.
I put that down as a moment from Glastonbury. Like it's one of the moments of kind of that will go in history, I think, because of his circumstances. He has. I heard it on the radio today that he's now taking an indefinite leave, so he stopped touring there because apparently he was losing his voice anyway in previous gigs that he'd been doing on his tour. So, but it was very powerful, and again, without it getting too serious, it was a moment.
It was something I think that like wouldn't have happened 5 years ago or even 10 years ago or whatever. Like it shows, and again, like this is more heavy than we normally talk about on the show. I think a lot of people say, culture at the moment is very much pointing like at the differences of people and disagreeing and whatever, but that showed how tolerant life is for disability and people that do struggle with things. It just like I just felt like the entire crowd embraced him and said it's all right. Like they were singing with him and got him through it. Phenomenal. Yeah.
Low lights. Lana Del Rey.
I haven't seen it, but I read about that.
Oh my god! So she apparently turned up late for her. She was the main act on whatever stage she was on. She turned up late. I don't know the reasons for that. It was
half an hour late, wasn't it?
Or rather. Anyway, she turns up late. She basically skipped a few songs here and there and tried to cram as many in. She was quite open and honest with the crowd as well, and they were all for it still. And then she said, we'll keep singing until they cut the power. They cut the power. There is a curfew at midnight, I think it is.
Yeah.
And then she got the crowd to sing video games, which I remember me and you loving that
I
song.
love Lana Del Rey. Yeah.
Yeah, she's great. She's a great, talented woman. She had to be like marched off basically by security in the end because she went down and started touching the fans and
Really?
Yeah. And what was the Kate Blanchett thing all about?
Did you see Sparks. That? Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know who Sparks is, but what was that all about?
Sparks, I only know from the one song that I think was well known for them, which was This Town Ain't Big Enough for the Both of Us.
Is that them?
This town ain't big enough for the both of us. Down. That's them, yeah. What they've done in the last 40 years since that song came out, who knows? But apparently enough to get them on the Glastonbury.
Yeah.
But yeah. And Kate Blanchett dancing with them.
Dancing in like a weird sort of on and off sort of, then she'd stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go. Yeah. But highlight for me, one of my favourites from the whole thing, Queens of the Stone Age.
Oh, I didn't see them. I didn't even realise they were there.
Oh, mate.
Wow.
I mean, the weird thing was that other than Josh Homme, I didn't know any of the others. I don't think any of the others are original members. He's the sole remaining original.
I don't know.
But they done No One Knows amongst others. But
did they get Dave on the drums for that?
No, they didn't. I thought that would have been a great touch, but
yeah.
It sounded on point. It was brilliant, and they done the kind of. I love the instrumental in that. Just blown like the guitar solo, the drum solo.
Yeah.
All of it was brilliant, and they're a band that. Do you know what? I can probably name 2 or 3 of their songs tops, but
yeah,
I just love what they do. I think they're
brilliant. I don't know whether you saw, and there was a guy who I'd never heard of before called Jacob Collier. His name was.
No.
And they introduced him as like this multi-instrumentalist and whatever. Like he's quite a young guy, early 20s, I'd say. Absolute genius, playing this sort of stuff. And I can't remember I think it's a Queen song he was playing. He was just playing the piano and singing this song. But then he came out to the crowd and he was getting the crowd to sing notes. So he would like point to one side and get them to do like la or something like that, but then get them to like go higher and lower, and then he'd get the other like side to sing lower or whatever to harmonize, and then the middle to do something different. And then he was getting them to like increase and decrease the pitch and getting them all harmonized. It was just incredible. If you can watch him on catch up on iPlayer, check it out, because I've never seen anything like it in my life. And the confidence of, I'd never heard of him. I think he's obviously
to be able to have
successful in what he does. But yeah, like thousands and thousands of people, not just getting them to, like we've seen with the Foo Fighters or with Freddie Mercury, like doing sounds or whatever. He was actually getting them to sing, like
wow,
like a choir.
And you think of it, was there a shit ton of people there?
Yeah, it was. So he must be known, not on my watch as such, but others must certainly know him, because there was a lot of people.
Not to go too long on this, because this is the extra show, but couple of
minutes. This is the longest extra show we've ever done.
It is, but Glastonbury was about 3 days, so we're trying to cram it in here.
That's it. We're fitting in 20
We've got to end on Elton, because I mean, I wouldn't say I'm like a super fan of Elton. I love some of his songs. You're the same, probably. I'm guessing.
I described it. I watched it with my wife, and Elton's one of those people. I know the songs, but if you said what's this song called, I probably wouldn't get all of them.
Yeah.
Like a few came on, you're like, yeah, exactly. The classics. A few came on. Oh yeah, I know this one or whatever it is. But I thought it was great. Yeah.
And do you know what I think he done right? Which, in comparison to a lot of, we talked about Guns N' Roses earlier, where Axl probably hasn't got that vocal anymore.
Yeah.
What Elton does right is he gets people on to sing along with him.
Yeah, exactly. Like Brandon Flowers.
And a lot of them, Brandon Flowers. But there was a lot that I've never heard of, but it worked.
Yeah, exactly.
In a sort of different way. And for me, yeah, I thought
got
to end the show, I thought he was pretty special.
I've got an anecdote related to that. We were sitting there watching it, and he introduced the song "Are You Ready for Love?"
I'm ready for love.
And I said, "Oh, I know this one." And he said, and me with my music knowledge, he went, "Oh yeah, this was thanks to Norman Cook." This came back out, and I'm sitting there, I'm sure that wasn't Norman Cook.
Him.
Yeah, I said, "No, I'm sure this wasn't Norman Cook." But I looked it up, and it was Ashley Beadle remixed it, but Norman Cook released it on his label. I'm like, "Oh right, okay, that makes sense." Right. But I thought I said to my wife, "I've got this record. I remember when that came out. I've got this. I've got like a pink picture disc sort of thing of this record." So I just had a look on eBay to find a picture of it. £1,000 they're selling for. I'm like, no way.
What? Are you going to sell it?
So over there, somewhere, is
and also on my eBay.
That's it. Username.
You can find me.
Well, it's one of those things. People put them on for that much money. Whether people buy them for that much money, I don't know. But it's 20 years old now, and again, it's just one of those things you sort of forget about. But yeah, who knew?